Well, let's start. All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. We're going to skip the invocation and do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do the roll call. Commissioner LeBlanc?
Commissioner LeBlanc present.
Commissioner Gardner present.
Attorney Myers present.
Commissioner Becker present.
Commissioner Gleason present.
All right. Doesn't look like we have any citizens, so we'll move on to the approval of the agenda, consent agenda. Is there any discussion?
I motion that we approve the agenda
The consent agenda?
and, and consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, okay. Mr. Flowers isn't here, so, is he come, did you say he was coming?
He's supposed to be, but you still have to approve the agenda.
Oh, yes, okay. Okay. Do we have items for discussion on the agenda? Or do we need to?
Do we want to move Wayne to last since he's not here yet?
Yeah.
Just move one to number 3 and then move everything else up.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay. The approval of the agenda, is there any corrections, deletions, any conversation about the agenda?
Well, I mean, technically, it's not unfinished business, right? We can just move it to number 5, new business.
Yeah, it is new business.
Okay, I'm confused.
Yeah, Wayne is new business.
Right.
So how about, I'll make a motion to move unfinished business number 1 to
To
new
the end of
business number 5.
Okay.
And leave the rest of the agenda as shown.
Okay.
I second.
All in favor? Okay. Unopposed? So now are we moving on?
We're moving straight to unfinished business since you've already done the approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, so are we moving to the discussion and approval? We're going to make a motion to allow the staff to hire a government public relations firm immediately and authorize the appropriate staff of the district to negotiate and execute an agreement on behalf of the district in an amount not to exceed $100,000. So I made that motion.
I'll second it.
All right. All
Who
in
made the
favor?
motion?
Well, I think
have-
we should need to write in there that this is an emergency motion.
It's not necessary that it be an emergency. You're authorized to hire professional services without competitive
I'm sorry?
bidding.
She's just saying that, mention that it was called as an emergency. Do we need to?
You don't need to define it as an emergency unless you
Okay.
want to beg an argument as to whether or not it's really an emergency.
Right.
You have the-
So that's,
No, okay, okay.
all right. So, all in favor, or do we have a second? I'm sorry.
I second it.
All right, she seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unopposed? Okay. Dr. Shu, the investment policy.
Thank you. The investment policy for several months, last July meeting, we tabled and postponed to January. And Scott and the other staff committee, we look at, make some following commissioner this direction, and we made some change, gave some percentage. If you have any question, Scott and can give answer. This is based on Wayne Flower's suggestion and his some Xinjiang Water Management District, some policy also Xinjiang County in some kind of policy and provided by Commissioner Gleason and also the city talking and pick up the major parts and also following the statute about the government investment. Maybe have any question, Scott can answer.
I don't have a question. Actually, thank you. I'm happy about it, but I have a suggestion for a change.
Sure.
Under where was it? The primary investment vehicle, and you have Florida Prime number 4,
Okay,
the due diligence. Do you-
oh, this is page 4?
Yeah, it's, I guess it's page 3, I guess, because this one says 4.
Yeah, page 3.
Okay, page 3?
On the due diligence, I'd rather have it say, so instead of says on a continual basis, make it on an annual basis, since they release their performance annually.
Sure,
That may just,
Yeah.
it might just make it
So you
easier to coincide with that.
okay.
So continual, a lot of people can like interpret differently.
Yep.
They're only really doing their big report once a year. They do quarterlies, but once a year is when they actually do their big report. So I would just,
Yes, ma'am, that sounds good.
is that, so do I need to make a motion for that?
Yeah.
When you go to approve it, just motion to approve with that amendment.
With that change, okay. And then are you going to have that questionnaire develop at some point? Or do you have a template for it that's referenced on,
And that is, which page is that?
it's on page 3 under primary investment vehicle, Florida Prime, and it says due diligence requirement, and it says, the finance director shall develop a questionnaire containing a list of blah, blah, blah.
I have a template, a couple templates I can rely on. I mean,
Okay.
I gotta admit, we had a small window to get the board book,
No, it's
This-
okay, I'm
oh,
just saying.
yeah,
you
I'll have it.
More my,
and I can even email it to you.
okay, that's fine. So that's my, I was actually happy to see it, so.
Okay, oh, so you liked it, okay, great.
Got to me.
I'm glad, it's like-
She liked it.
Hallelujah.
Yay.
She's not gonna nag me about this anymore.
Uh,
So,
Need a
thank
mo-
you for all the
Sure,
work.
oh, yeah, thank you.
But she has a question.
Oh, you have a question? Sure, go right ahead.
So under section part 3A, when we talk about the prudent person,
Okay,
to me, it kind of reads as like any employees or officers, so maybe we can make that a little bit more clear that it needs to be coming from the finance CFO
sure.
and the director.
I think it was boilerplate language up until, up except for a few parts of this. But sure, if you'd like us to change, how would you like it to read, or what you recommend?
Well, because it just says who are officers or employees of the district. I mean, I know that a technician's not going to go do an investment
Sure.
policy, but for the language purposes, we need to have that kind of spelled out. So
Okay.
in case something ever happens, and we have all new people, then they know that only the CFO and the director can make those
Okay.
decisions. Or,
So we're
I mean,
taking
does
out,
everyone agree with that? The CFO and the director make those investment decisions with the
I'm-
board?
I'm fine with that.
With the board, yeah, with oversight from the board, since we're responsible for it.
But we don't want, like,
So we're
Yeah,
going to
just
change.
anybody.
employees.
All right, so we want to change prudent person to the CFO or the director?
Or
You're-
put in parentheses, prudent person means CFO, blah, blah, blah.
I think you want to redefine the term investment officials to only include the CFO.
Yes.
Okay.
And director as opposed to any officers or employees of the district.
Okay. So change
Because, I mean, we don't
investment.
even have an officer, any officers.
Investment officials who
All
are
right, so we're-
officers.
We're changing investment officers.
Okay, we'll make change, yeah.
Okay.
It's on.
On the top of the
page.
top.
Yeah, okay.
It's like the standard of prudence.
Investment
means
officials,
when
change
who are
that.
Officers or employees of the district shall be the prudent person. We all know what that means, but I think, in policy, the definitions are important, so.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks. And should I move to unfinished business 3, or are you going to take a final
We need
vote?
to-
Then you need to
we
vote.
need to
Yeah,
vote.
sure, sorry.
All right, so,
They want me to
we have
make
a-
the motion?
yes, we need a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the investment policy with the changes indicated to standards of prudence, changing investment officials to CFO or district director, and scratching the word officers and investment officials. And then on section 1, primary investment vehicle, section 1A, primary investment vehicle, Florida Prime, changing, scratching and on continual basis to on annual basis.
Okay. Do
I'll
we-
second.
All right,
That was a long motion.
okay, and all in favor? Okay, it's unanimous.
Oh, unanimous amongst us, the quorum.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. Wow,
All
you're
right,
And
Scott, you're
now-
up for
Yes,
the
ma'am. Unfinished business 3.
financial report.
The treasurer's report. Starts out with the cash ending balances. This would be the December 31st per the reconcile. The first thing you have is the Wells Fargo operating account, which stays at 1.5 million because we have the sweep account that we implemented a couple months ago. So basically, had there not been a sweep account and we had not put it in an SBA prime fund, that 2.9 million on the next line where it says sweep account, that's the amount that's sitting in there, and it's accruing interest ratably as you have little pieces of it. If you'd have to actually reference the sweep account statement to see how it, on a daily basis, what that balance is. And anytime the Wells Fargo account goes down, then it automatically, by the end of the day, it goes back to that 1.5, retaining that 1.5 balance. Then the last one's the Florida Prime, which we haven't put anything else into. That's been still earning, right now it's 5.64% annualized. The SBA, it's 5.64. The sweep's 5.22, which is less, but it's given us that protection of having diversification. So then if you go down to the next area, sources of income, we always get a pretty good amount of money the first part of the month, like the last few months, like starting November, because people get the early tax discounts when they pay early. So in December, and I don't know why I've got the November date there. It should have been December 31st. I apologize, to the right. No, actually it does. I've got two different. I'm looking at something else. So we actually received $2,374,367.12 in gross tax revenues for the month of December. SBA return on investment is $27,070.78. And then the sweep investment account, we actually had a return for that month, and it's in the pink box of $7,232.27, which funds on the first day of the next month. So really, that's what was earned in December. The left number you see is the $2,903. That's what actually came into the account on the 1st of December, but was actually earned in November.
When you say pink, can you tell us what page that is?
Actually, you know what? I'm kind of reading some notes I've got.
Oh,
So actually, if you go to I put the actual statements in there.
okay.
So if you go to past the treasurer's report, past the first Wells Fargo report, past page 7, then it should go to past the reconciliation detail of the sweep account.
Okay, here it
Then you go to, and the statement that they give us is not, I gotta admit, it's kind of, the quality isn't that great. I've actually had to enlarge it just to make it more readable for you. But if you look at this part, that's the sweep statement. At the top right, you see prior, and you go down where it says fund summary, and you go to the right, and there's this little portion here where you see 2,903. That's actually what was earned in November, but it was funded to the account on December 1. And then the next one, that's 7,232.27. That's actually what was earned in December, but it's funds on January 1st. It kind of took me a little bit for my head to wrap around that because there's something odd about the reconciliation. And what they do then is they dump that back into the regular Wells Fargo account. That's just the way the sweep does it.
So it's not a return, as in,
It,
we got our check returned for not having.
no,
enough
it's a
money.
return on investment. I always like to say instead of interest, because anything that's not straight bank interest is actually a return on investment. So,
So we make money.
yeah, to make money. And there's always some risk.
And so they take that and they put it back into the Wells Fargo.
Yes, ma'am, yep. And that's 7,232 was there January 1st. But everything I'm doing is in terms of what happened in December. So it's kind of, the way I have to kind of explain it and present it, it's a little bit skewed, I guess. And then as far as the sources of income continuing down, grant money, we had 27,000. And I think that was mostly Syngenta and that Japanese company,
Sumitomo.
Okay, Sumomoto, yeah,
Sumitomo, sorry.
Sumitomo. And I think with them, there's some receivables. We still have to collect some receivables. Surplus property, we sold some old iPhones. Dorm rent, 1,300. And then there's still some more FEMA Hurricane Nicole money trickling in, 2,371.87. And that's pretty much the sources of income. So we had 2.4 million that came in for the month of December.
Quick question. please.
Sure.
Is there a reason why we don't change SBA SBA investment fund to Florida Prime? That's old, right? 'Cause that's an old name.
Yeah, that is kind of an outdated term. Sure, I guess it's been that way for so long, but I can make it just say
That's
Florida
really,
Prime.
it changed to Florida Prime officially.
Sure, I can change that. Then I think the last thing is the budget amendment. And I don't know if you're all on that page now or. It starts off with the DAX format, then I've got the detail on the next pages. But in essence, we had over budget, grants are doing a little bit more than we probably thought. So we had $7,050 over the budgeted grant money of $100,000. And then we had some miscellaneous money that went over the miscellaneous budget. And that's that little portion of FEMA money which trickled over. So we had 11,153.87 in excess revenues over budget. And to make it balanced, we have to plug it into expenditures below. Nothing's underfunded. I mean, as far as budget, we're good on all the numbers, but I basically tried to beef up a couple accounts that I thought were just a little bit lower than the other ones. So I put 5,000 of it to travel and per diem. And then I put 6,153.87 to other charges, and that's things like advertising and bank fees. That's to make it all balance out. The money in the expenditure section can always be moved again. It can go from category to category. But the most important thing is we're not taking any money out of our 895,000 contingency. That's still sitting there as a reserve for the year that we can use. And that's basically it. Any questions? Sure.
So we did pass that emergency funding to get a government public relations specialist. And so where do you think that money is going to be coming out of?
Okay, that'll,
Or do we need to make maybe a new account for that?
actually, these DAX
We
accounts,
have budgeted $15,000 for public relations, and that will fit in this year.
That would be a
Then
line item.
later, we can figure out the budget amendment if we need. On the budget, we have some public relations.
But we won't do that until we need it, right?
Yes, currently we have some money spent
Right.
on the category.
Yeah, these are all general categories for DAX, and then there's subcategories we use for budgeting purposes. So there's a couple categories that would come out of promotional or other charges. I'd have to actually look when I get back to my computer and pull out and see
We
which.
think it's gonna cost us $100,000?
um,
No,
No,
who knows?
that's, I guess,
Worst case scenario.
yeah.
depend the first, and second, day, look at what's happening, they can figure out.
Are we giving, just question, besides hiring, are we giving them some parameters, some, like,
On the,
to the lobbyist?
Or negotiation.
Yeah.
that's
I
something
mean,
that just came on so quick. I was
We're
busy
gonna work
looking
on
at some other
language on that,
papers
okay.
while they were discussing it more in depth than I was involved in.
I think our attorney might
Yeah,
answer that.
Well, you've authorized staff to
Right,
negotiate it.
right.
So if there are any parameters, I would get with the director.
No, I'm just want to make sure that whoever's negotiating is like making
Is
sure
aware.
that it's not a kitty bank that, okay.
Your authority is limited. The
Okay.
authority granted was limited to
Okay.
100,000, but you need to be monitoring it and come back and ratify the
Okay.
contract ultimately, and whatever budget amendment it may require.
And we're gonna do is an RFP, I guess,
No.
or something like that?
No,
Oh, okay,
no.
no, okay. All right.
We don't need to do, I don't think we need to do an RFP on that.
No, you're exempt on this.
Thank you,
All
Scott.
right, thank you.
Yeah, any further
Yeah, we
questions?
need a motion for approval. by
Oh,
the-
Yes, I'm sorry. Can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the budget amendment.
We have, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Ms. Myers, you can hit the ground running.
All right, I have so many questions. How do you adopt your officers? Do you nominate them by a slate or one at a time? How
One
do
at
you?
a time, I think.
Yeah, one
Okay. I'm not certain how you would like me to facilitate this portion of it. Am I the facilitator of this agenda item?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a nomination then for the office of chairperson?
Yes.
Yep, both of us. I
Are you
nominate,
Volunteers or nominations?
nomination.
Nomination.
All right. that's
I
fine.
nominate
Sorry.
Gail Gartner to remain as chair.
Okay.
Okay, you're nominating Gail?
Gail.
Okay, well then, we're good.
You seconding?
I'm gonna second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to nominate Gail as our chairperson for the next year. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
All in favor?
Is there anyone?
Yes.
All in favor? Okay, perfect. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do we have a nomination for our vice chair?
Trish Pepper.
I'd like to nominate Martha.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to nominate Martha as our vice chair. All in favor? All right, any opposed?
No.
Can I post myself?
All right, do we have a nomination for the office of secretary?
Can I nominate Gina LeBlanc again?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second to have Gina serve as secretary for the next fiscal year. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, perfect. All right.
Okay. Thank you. And thanks for the plaque.
You're presenting it to yourself.
I presented it, I did. All right. Ms. Myers, you are now doing our sunshine law review.
Okay.
All right.
I was told to keep it short, so I have provided a short little memo that breaks the sunshine law into two parts: open records and open meetings. To be brief, an open meeting requires that when any two of you gather together to discuss business foreseeably to come before you, that it happened in the sunshine law, that happened in the sunshine, excuse me, so it be noticed, there be minutes of that meeting, and there be the opportunity for the public to at least observe or participate in that discussion. A meeting can happen, but for your purposes, I think a meeting can be a telephone call. A meeting can be when two of you are gathered together. If you're at lunch and you happen to start talking about business that's foreseeably to come before you. Having lunch is not illegal. Having lunch that discusses past business that's already been acted upon by you is not a violation of the Sunshine Law. But at the point you start discussing business that is reasonably foreseeable to come before you, you do have a Sunshine Law obligation to immediately stop talking about it and wait until you can notice a meeting to further that conversation. Just as a practical matter, when it happens, stop and wait until your next board meeting, which are routinely noticed and for which minutes are taken. There are exemptions to the Sunshine Law. Generally, when you are subject to litigation, you may close the meeting, and even then it's just very strict as to who can attend and what you can discuss in that shade meeting. The entire legislative process is covered by the Sunshine. So your discussions, your actions, of course, are subject to the Sunshine Law. They must be taken in the public. If you secret ballots, for instance, are not a thing in the Sunshine Law. If you wanted to vote on paper so that it wasn't obvious to the public in the room how you were voting, those ballots would still require your name on them and be attached to the minutes of the meeting to be a public record. Open meetings do not require an agenda. They just require minutes. And they require the opportunity for public participation. It doesn't require public participation all the time, just at some point in the deliberative process. And if you have, in order to provide full access to the public, if you have a controversial vote that you know is going to have a big crowd that your forum will not accommodate, you have to come up with either a different forum or a different means of accommodating all of the people who may wish to speak. So there are some virtual technologies that allow us to accommodate that now that we didn't have before COVID. So that is my Sunshine Law meeting primer in brief with regards to public records. Any records that perpetuate or communicate knowledge of public business is a public record. It doesn't matter if it comes to your private email, to your private cell phone, to your Facebook page. If it has to do with public business and communicates or perpetuates knowledge made or received, it's a public record, and you are the custodian that is required to retain it under the Sunshine Law. As a practical matter, you may want to have a separate phone or a district email address, or you may just want to send it. I don't know if you have a standard operating policy as to how you archive those, but if you want to get it off your private phone, I encourage you to do that and retain it somewhere so that if a public records request is ever made, it can be made available without inviting a search of your private computer or your private phone. The public records law is very, very broad. It changes every year in terms of the exemptions that are created or that may expire. So if you have a question about whether something is a public record, I urge you to ask me or whoever your public records custodian is. There is a Sunshine Law manual. If you don't have one, I'd be happy to provide one to you, but it's available as PDF, or it's a 1-inch thick little manual that can be very useful.
I would like one.
All right, I'd be happy to provide one.
I have a question for you. How does this, because we do this every January, how is this going to differ from DOD, what we're going to get in DOD?
You'll get a real deep dive in DOD.
4 hours, I see.
Well, there's also an ethics element, I believe,
Okay.
as part of the DOD. So you'll learn about all of the conflict of interest statutes as well that apply to you, in addition
gonna
to the
have-
public records.
Are they going to request attestation, like signatures, like I've been through the course and?
I don't know how DOD will do it. Generally, there is some sort of record of attendance that you can rely on
Okay.
as
I
evidence
think
that you have
these are
done it.
treated like continuing ed CEUs, I think, aren't
My firm provides it in Bay County to all of our elected officials, and we do provide a certificate just as evidence
Okay.
that you have completed the course. I imagine that DOD will do something similar.
Yes.
Is that was, okay.
Do you have any specific questions about the Sunshine Law? I know y'all are not brand new to office.
We just don't talk to each other.
You can talk to each other,
No,
just
it's
not
not-
about
About our
future
kids and
business.
lunch.
Yeah, football teams, shopping, Past business is all okay.
Thank you so much, and welcome.
Thank you.
Dr. Falls?
I like the title.
Rick, it's in the general share. Okay. I can go ahead and start, so won't take up too much time. We had an exciting year for our internship program. I don't know if any of you, as you walked into the building, looked at our internship wall, where we had over 22 interns this year, which is exciting, but also at times a logistical nightmare. No, they were great. Typically, I'm just going to highlight the activities that they participated in and give you a rundown of kind of, what they participated in, how they contributed to the district, and just really want to appreciate everybody here, because everyone plays a role in helping train and educate and mentor these interns. So it's not a one-person job. It is everybody is involved, from ground operations to taking them into the field to showing them what what a typical day is with a technician. So they get to participate in service requests, making treatments, as well as our aviation unit. They are very great at offering to take them up in the air, to take them out on the airboat. So they're getting multiple different perspectives of what our program does, as well as tied into the science team and the different projects that we participate in. So I gave this a version of this presentation at FMCA, and I'll also be giving a version at AMCA. And so really, I think what we can serve as an example to other programs is how do we combine all the different educational levels into a really comprehensive internship program, based on my title, as you saw. So we have specific objectives with this internship program, right? We want to enhance our programs through applied research and training. And so by bringing in interns, that allows us to kind of expand upon the different projects that we do, right? If we didn't have interns, we really wouldn't be able to bring in as much grant funding or sponsored project funding, because they really help and assist in the day-to-day process of completing those projects. And again, the mentoring team is great because they help go over SOPs, PPE. They're the ones that are providing them and ensuring that they're being trained properly and executing the research properly as well. We want to encourage interest in mosquito control. As we're in the public right now, it's really important to have people that are advocating for us, that have been in our program and know how we operate. And so I think that, everyone that leaves here through the internship program, they're always, really appreciative of the opportunity, and their eyes are open to what we do, right? And it allows us to mentor individuals in the scientific method, laboratory standards, and mosquito control, as well as to bring in new technologies, right? So we have young, scientists that have a lot of different ideas and can really help us, especially this year, we had IT interns from the St. John's Academies, and they were able to help us with some of our IT needs, as well as bring up our 3D printing. They were the ones that got all that set. I mean, they understand IT a lot better than I do, and so, having that young knowledge and expertise was really beneficial to our program. So kind of give you a total of how many students we have trained over the years. So in total, we've trained 103 interns since 2005. This year, as I mentioned, we had 22. So we had 36 graduate students. We had 5 this year, 43 undergraduate students, and 8 for fiscal year 23. And then 9 high school students for this year, for fiscal year 23. And I should add that we also had aviation interns this year. So we're really tapping into the St. John's Academies that have, education, aviation, from mechanic to drone to wanting to actually fly, fixed wing and helicopters. So we're really fortunate that St. John's County has such a good academy program that we can really benefit from. And I just want to highlight the ones that are bolded are the universities and high schools that we were able to participate or to bring in those interns for this year. So Florida Atlantic Mechanical University, we had University of Florida and University of North Florida, and then the local high schools included Ponte Vedra as well as St. Augustine High School. So St. Augustine High School houses the Aviation Academy, and Ponte Vedra High School houses the IT and the Biotechnology Academy, where we pull interns from. So this is just to kind of give you an idea of the different training that we have to do with our interns, right? So we have mandatory training that the staff has to do, and those interns also have to do it in order to be compliant with FDACS. But in addition to that, we also, go over lab safety. We don't want to burn down our nice new facilities with those individuals that maybe aren't properly trained on how to work in a lab setting. So that's really important. Go over data collection and management, right? They're collecting data. We train them how to record data. And so really making sure that they're following our SOPs. These are just different things that we do on a day-to-day basis, whether it's formal or informal, but these are all the types of training that we have to provide. And then so here I want to highlight some of the high school and undergraduate internships. So most of our undergraduate internships are with University of North Florida. They have a public health program, an undergraduate degree in that. And so we were able to bring, they always come to us, and it's a really great working relationship. In fact, the director of that undergraduate public health internship program had her daughter come here this year who's in high school as a volunteer intern because she is so impressed with our program. Here are just some of the interns after a presentation that we got. We didn't have all 22 at one time together because some interns worked Monday and Fridays only, or Tuesdays and Thursdays. So when I talk about like the logistics and coordinating, those things have to be taken into consideration because you can't have them coming in when you don't have staff to kind of have them shadow or give them specific directives during the day, right? And so this is just an example of the weekly schedule. So this is something that I send out every Wednesday, and we have a team meeting every Thursday morning to go over what the next week looks like, right? And so you can see here that it's very detailed. This year I even had to put designate vehicles for team members because we had so many different activities ongoing. So that made sure that everybody had a way to get where they needed to go. But we were very busy this year. We're always busy. But I just kind of wanted to highlight in the field. So they're learning how to set up traps, different traps. Here you see light traps, gravid traps, BG traps. And these are all interns that they're trained on this, and then maybe they're given a specific route to put traps out in, or they're involved in arbovirus collection, setting up their own projects. But they're learning hands-on, and then they're able to go and do that in the field. Additionally, they help out with our Sentinel Chicken program. One of the tasks this year for our Biotech Academy interns was developing a heartworm survey. So this was them going out to veterinarians, to other like pet paradise, places where you get dog parks, and trying to conduct surveys to bring awareness to dog heartworm, right? So one of the projects that one of our graduate students, who's now our education specialist, Tomomi, started was under Dr. Pepper's tutelage, was better understanding what mosquitoes in St. Johns County are important vectors for dog heartworm. We love veterinary entomology is also a component of medical entomology. And so we want to make sure our residents are aware, and for us too, to help improve our control methods, especially if we're dealing with like a lot of heartworm cases. And then just in the field, the picture of larvae behind or in front of you was one that one of our interns, when they went out on an inspection with a technician, this was something that they found in the field, right? So they're able to see what they see in the insectaries, and then in the field also observe it as well. Again, the helicopter ride is always everyone's favorite, hands down. And again, our aviation department is very great and gracious to offer to take all of them up, to give them that top-down perspective so that they can see some of these huge breeding areas, right? Salt marsh areas. It puts it in perspective for them. And then you see the back of the truck, that's a vehicle filled with surveillance equipment, right? being out into the field. So even just loading that, you can imagine the amount of time, and you have to load all those CO2 containers with dry ice and training them on how to properly load those CO2 containers. And then our screened enclosures, they were also instrumental in helping set up various projects that we had with sponsors evaluating spatial repellents. And then in the laboratory, I liked randomly going in and taking pictures because I'd never seen it so busy in the lab with, just multitude of different people working on different projects, from working at the microscopes, counting eggs, identifying mosquitoes, to preparing the larvae for bioassays. Everybody was hands-on taking a part in the different areas of what we do in the science program. And this is another one. Again, actively working in the microscopes, entering data. And then in the lab as well. So our Biotechnology Academy, they learn this in the classroom, but then they get to put it in practice here. And so again, Dr. Pepper and his team does a really good job of ensuring that they get training on the newest techniques and strategies in testing for virus activity, whether it's from our Sentinel chicken program or from our mosquito pool testing. And again, I think everyone walks away with a great appreciation because they're like, I got to do it with, the type of equipment that's available to us in the classroom. But when you come here, you get state-of-the-art equipment, and they get to learn on that. It's really exciting for them. And then in the laboratory, so, it's not always glamorous. If you look at the bottom of below the chicken.
I'm trying to figure out what they're doing to the chicken.
So this is how,
Chicken.
yeah, if you gently rock the chicken, it helps it become a little subdued.
Oh.
But this is how we feed some of our colonies, is through our chickens that we house in our chicken house. And so, but if you look underneath what's there, as I said, it's not always the most glamorous.
What is
Chickens don't know where they're aiming, if you will. And then you see so these are all of our high school interns in this photo. One is putting their hand in a toxorhynchides colony. So if you know, toxorhynchides, they don't feed on blood, right? They're only sugar feeders. So it's a fun little thing to train them, right? Their first day, hey, I need you to blood feed this colony, just joking around. And then you have them put their arm in there. They willingly do it, surprisingly, but it's kind of just playful, right? And the one thing that I want to say about the team is that I heard a lot of laughter. Like, I could be in my office and I could hear people laughing, and to me that means great teamwork. Everyone likes each other and they're getting along. And I think it's really that there's something special about the people that work here that facilitate just like really good teamwork and happiness. So kudos to everyone here. As well as in the laboratory, they get to look at mosquitoes underneath a microscope. They identify them. They learn that, right? They learn how to use a dichotomous key. Our toxorhynchides colony, that's a very labor-intensive colony because they're cannibalistic in the larval stage. So you can't put them all in just a pan because you'll only end up with one. So you have to feed them in individual wells. So a lot of attention goes into our insectary practices, and they do such a good job of helping with that. And then this year, we were also able to collaborate again with the CD Southeastern Centers for Vector-Borne Disease. And so this is one of the CD Centers of Excellence, and this is through the Emerging Pathogens Institute. And over the years, we have created this intern training program specific with them that's a little bit more in depth, if you will. So the idea here is that they're actually doing a specific project that's going to hopefully end up with a publication, right? It's a great collaboration. And so we have partnered with 9 in total. So this year we had 2, Kate and Lauren. So they are still actively interns with us, and they're going to be helping out with our initial evaluations of SIT. So they're going to start with the trapping that we need to do in the field, and then maybe some basic biology evaluations in the lab. And then we also collaborated with CDC and the ES. So CDC and the Entomological Society of America, they have a public health entomology for all program. And this year, 2 mosquito control districts, our district and Salt Lake City, were selected to house these interns. And so the CDC and ESA actually paid for the internships, and they were housed here to complete those internships. And so this was 10 weeks. And these 3 ladies came from Florida Atlantic Mechanical University, and they are not entomologists, right? They're going pre-med or biosystems engineering. So they really brought a new perspective. And we were able to do a project that was tied into understanding misconceptions around pesticides by working within pesticide-free communities. So there are communities in St. Augustine that have within their HOA that limit chemical use, and then comparing it to communities that were closely associated with that community that were not pesticide-free communities. And so we're still working. They created a survey. We did a lot of trapping and resistance profiles to look at that. So it's some really interesting work that they spearheaded that we're still continuing.
Did they make a report for that? I'd like to read
We're-
that.
We're still working on finalizing that project. So Dr. Vendia has been spearheading that project. And so we didn't have as good survey participation. So I think that we're going to target the HOAs to go and give talks in the HOAs. And then, you know, as they leave, hey, will you take this survey to get better participation? But interestingly, we were comparing resistance profiles, and we have that completely done and can write up a report on that. But hopefully, the goal is to have, you know, a really nice publishable report on that when we get it done. So,
Dr. Paul,
Mhm.
on Tallahassee Days, have we targeting any legislators that are in charge of education?
well, to my knowledge, right now, I don't think our list has provided us besides with our
We should.
representatives.
I mean, this is excellent work.
Yeah. I mean, I think we are open to set schedules with any of our
Can't remember.
our representatives to be able to talk to them and advocate for what we do with our internship programs, to highlight that, you know, we're trying to educate and develop the next scientist, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking, and I'm not sure who's in charge in the House or the Senate
Of
for
education.
education.
Okay.
And
I can
I'm
look
like,
into that
This
next
would be an
week.
excellent leave behind with them.
Okay. And I can tidy it up a bit to make it a
Yeah,
little bit
'cause
prettier.
I don't think they realize how much training,
And
teacher education.
And we
would
published a
provide.
good article last year about the AMCD education program, so that might also be
Yeah, okay,
something
forward to
that we want to,
last year.
yeah.
Yeah, especially since we're like, we hit the target on our.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I want to highlight that when they leave here, they're advocating for us, right? And that's one of the things that, you know, they learn our speak, right, if you will, and they go out and they talk to within their communities. You know, I still have these interns reach out to me and ask me for different advice related to X, Y, and Z, and they're telling people, you know, they're like, oh, you'll never believe what I, you know, saw the other day, and I had to tell them, you know. The mosquito hotels is something that I like, you know, pick that up from Commissioner Becker, right? The mini mosquito hotels, the bromeliads. That's something that, you know, as we walk through the education center, that sticks with them, and they think about that, and that becomes kind of their speak, if you will. But yeah, our internships, it supports our mission. It allows different training opportunities for our staff to then become mentors, right? As well as allows for outside funding, increases our collaborations, it adds equipment. So throughout the years, a lot of what they have evaluated has become into rotation for our district. Cost savings, more environmentally sound practices and methodology, new materials, and as well as, you know, our applied research program benefits the district, as I mentioned, through cost savings and more environmentally sound practices. And again, you're training next generations, whether they become entomologists or not, they have that knowledge and they have an understanding. They go out into their communities and they help prevent mosquito-borne disease transmission by continuing to communicate that, right? So I think that that's it. And then, you know, obviously we're super appreciative that the board continues to support the internship program. because we do pay most of these internships, right? We do have some as volunteer, but your continued support for that in the budget is very much appreciated. We're also very lucky that a lot of our sponsors, we can use that funding to help pay for internships as well. And then all the funding agencies, and then again, as I mentioned, all of the staff here that provides willingly to help answer any of their questions. I mean, it's a full team, right? From Scott and A getting them set up so that they can get paid, right? To the rest of the team making sure that they're learning, that they're doing what they need to do, and really giving them a great experience. So that's it.
Thank you, Dr.
Great
Apple.
job.
Great.
Yeah, we have 8 full-time employee promoted from the intern. That's good results. They work of 6 months and a couple of years as an intern, so they really can figure out that they like the job or not. Also, we can figure out they need it or not. The team apply. It's a very good win-win situation.
Yes.
Also, very good labor, cheap labor. With very hard during the operation, you're the hand-on, learn a lot and learn each other. Some kids are very smart. It's unbelievable. Yeah, yeah. So.
Commissioner Becker, did you have comments?
For your presentation, on page 9, the CDC slide, the institute spelled wrong.
I'm sorry. I'll correct that, especially if we give it to any of our,
Yes.
yes. All right.
Yeah, the last year was intern. It was out of control. Too many, and 22 actually incurred aviation to 24. So that's purpose that we try to apply CDC, the Collaboration Center, for training and evaluation center. So we spent last time, we showed them we have the capability. Then finally, the CDC approved our application proposal, but not funding available. So they keep it for 2 years. But they're funding us a small project. CDC, ESA, CDC, Nature, and CDC Southeast Center. That awarded to New Orleans, and New Orleans that center now call us, wanted to be asked a part of them. So they can funding some people by scholarship, join our workshop. They can pay for registration. They can provide a hotel. So still through small funding to help us. We didn't get a big money, but I get some still
little
keep.
bit helps, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Red Staff and Dr. Cord and Dr. Steve Pepper. It's hard work. Yeah, it's take care of this. Yeah.
Dr. Shu?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, server item, I would like new for the who's will be coming here join. And January 18, next Thursday, and we will host the Florida called the Council for Mosquito Control meeting. And after the meeting, 12:30, we'll have a finger food for lunch. Then we have a dedication of a SAT building, master area facility. So we have some candidates and USDA, and some people give a speech, very good for public relations, education. And January 22nd and 23rd, Tallahassee legislation meeting. Yeah, we have 2 board, main board, and 2 staff, and 2 technicians, and they join the total of 6. It's a good team. So the 2 technicians get the FMC funding, pay for the Tallahassee for young professional support. And January 31st afternoon, and going to Gainesville for FMCA start short course. They hold a meeting in February 1st. So there's a request our commissioner join that. They usually finish 2:30 and something can come back February 1st. But I request a 4-hour training for our elected officer. March 4 and 8, American Mosquito Control Association annual meeting in Dallas. So that we book a hotel and we have 4 commissioners and staff and student. Total we have 11 people. So that now we get a book airline tickets already. So we still work on. And March 26th to 28th, so always the last week of March, we will have 19th arborvitae surveillance and the mosquito control workshop. Also, in the first day, March 26th, in AM around 8, we'll have a grand open of education center and SAT building grand open. And ask Commissioner Baker, invite our congressman, and also invite the CDC, the division, the vector-borne disease division, the director to come and give a short speech, also include USDA and the UF and Florida Medical Entomology Laboratory Director to give a short speech, yeah, before the workshop. And May 13 to 17, so we'll have American Mosquito Control Association DC legislation meeting. So that that's probably from next month, February, we start a book a hotel and make a reservation hotel, then book airline tickets. Currently, we are busy with 3 items. Number one, annual program report. So I said information for everyone. So collective publication, presentation, some public relation, some kind of activity, and the annual employee performance evaluation. So deadline is end of February next month. Then is work out about annual mandatory training. So we have lots of annual training requests. So such as safety and PPE and sex harassment and several Mr. Weaver and education specialists there, we talk there. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Do you have anything to report?
I do not. I am happy to be here.
Oh, we are happy to have you. They aren't all like this. Okay. Commissioner comments? Commissioner LeBlanc, do you have?
I just want to thank the staff for all their hard work. Really excited to see how successful the intern training is. You did a great job presenting. It's
Everybody.
it's
yeah.
fantastic. No, I'm
Yes, I'd like to tell Whitney what a great job she's done with the intern program. We're really proud of you, Whitney.
Thank you. And again, I want to
Dr.
reiterate.
Quayles, excuse me.
I reiterate, it's the entire, staff.
Oh.
I just do the logistics of making sure they have something to do, but it's the team that
I think you
executes the
deserve the
training.
majority of the credit.
Oh, well, thank you.
And that's it, thank you.
I went to the fly-in in Manatee County with Richard and Dr. Shu, and it was interesting and impressive, and I was very proud of our aviation department. I think our guys have it together, and it's great, so it was interesting.
We need to fix the agenda, because Mr. Flowers isn't here.
Are we moving it to next month, or?
I will check with him and maybe just make an announcement. I don't think they will show up to pick up. Just read the appreciation our mayor to him if he will come.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have a plaque for him, and
Yeah.
we.
You might read it there for
But I
record.
think, I think she's right. We still need to amend the agenda because we did not do that.
Okay.
He wasn't here.
So under unfinished business,
Under new business, we need to strike that because we didn't do it,
yeah,
I think, right?
under unfinished business, we'll strike item number 1, and.
No, we moved it to new business,
Number 5.
number
Oh, that's
5,
right. I'm sorry.
and we need to strike it because we didn't do it. So,
So can you just for record read the plug and I don't think he will coming. Then we can mail it to
you
him.
can say table it till next.
Table.
And at least not acknowledge him
Okay.
publicly, even though he's not here.
Yeah, I'll ignite, rather than strike it, I don't know if you'll want to come next month. or-
Yeah,
I
I
don't
was just
think,
said strike it and put it onto next month's agenda. I don't know.
So,
I don't think he will come. Just read it there.
He doesn't want to come?
so pursuant to item number 1 under new business, it was moved from unfinished business The Board of Commissioners of the Anastasia Mosquito Control District of St. Johns County, Florida, present to Mr. Wayne Flowers, District Attorney, from December 1st, 2010 through December 31st, 2023, in recognition of your hard work, dedication, and commitment to the board, employees, and the mission and goals of AMCD District Attorney for 15 years.
Yeah, our marriage is the plaque. I
And
don't
we'll
think.
send, yeah, we'll send it to him. Thank you.
He's on vacation, he's on a cruise.
Commissioner Becker?
That's it, thank you.
We got comments? Me?
Yes.
Thank you. You guys did a great job. So I want to thank the entire staff for all the hard work last year. I know you had a lot on your plate.
All right.
And that's it.
And with that, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.